Hi, I'm Helen Gibb. Welcome to my class, and you'll be making a 1920s style postcard, just like this little sample that we've got right down here. We'll pick a fabric image, and then we'll select some fabrics that work nicely with it, add some lace, use some trims, and before you know it, you'll have a beautiful postcard. Or you can use it in any other kind of manner in a project that you might have lined up. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is have a quick look at our images. And I love these ones that are sort of 1920s inspired. So I've picked this color theme and I really love this little lady here. So I'm going to look at my little stash of fabrics, and I love to use Dupioni silk, and that's what this is right here. I also like this little postcard fabric, so I cut one little square out, and I'll be using that in the background as well. And this was some beautiful heavy jacquard fabric. Love that. I'm going to take a slice of that and put that in the project as well. The other three fabrics are decorator fabrics, and these are cotton blends. I liked all of them, and while they all had lovely characteristics, I went with this one. And I love this brown because it will tie in to our lady right here and some of the lovely autumn colors. So now that I've got my fabrics chosen, I want to use some trims. So I'm going to pick up on that brown and gold theme. And I like this one. It's got a little bit of the black that goes with the design in her dress. Tiniest little hint of orange which picks up in the trees. Also going to use this lovely coppery color with the woven thread in this ribbon. Both of these are from France. One thing I might mention is that when you're using your ribbons, or selecting your ribbons rather, you want to get some really good quality ribbons. If you're going to spend the time to hand sew this, then you probably should get some good ribbon. I like all of this, what's happening. I'm going to add a little green in the form of leaves, and I'll show you how to add those to your composition. Also want some lace, and I've got several different kinds here, and I'll just lay them out here. You can see they're lovely and lacy. I did go ahead and choose this one. Now you'll notice the difference in the colors of these laces. I simply tea dyed them. Go make yourself a cup of tea. When you're finished with a cup of tea, dunk the lace in the teapot full strength. So I tea dyed, and I like that little softer look. All right, so our very first step is going to be doing something to the back of the Dupioni silk. Now some of you may have used silk before, and perhaps some of you haven't. I like to fuse the back of the silk, and I've got an iron-on fusible. It's a cotton weave, and it's just like this right here. Smooth weave on one side, and you see the little shiny bits? That's the glue that is actually melts when you put your iron to that. So I'm going to show you how to do that first. That's the very first thing we'll do. All right, here we go with fusing the Dupioni silk to the cotton fusible. I just cut out the same size, and the size of this project, by the way, ladies, it's approximately, and I'll just show you on my dirty old pad here, well used, well loved. My piece is approximately 5 by 7, 5 by 7. So you can cut yourself that, or 4 by 6 works as well, whatever you have. But that's what I'm using, is 5 by 6, 5 by 7. Okay. Here we go. Now the iron should be set to the manufacturer's setting for the fusible, which, since this is a cotton, it can be fairly warm. Silk will take, a fair bit of heat, so I put mine on a wool silk heat. I just lay the iron down on it, just like that. And then when I start to see little tiny, you can barely see it, but you can see tiny little melt bubbles, if you will. I try not to move it too much around like that because sometimes it can slip off the silk fabric. So it's better just to lay it and lay it. And you'll see I've got a tiny little iron here. These are great for the craft room. So I just move my iron just across the silk till it's all done and I can start and see those little bubbles. I've got one here completed so I can show you. You can see right here where the little melts are. And then the silk stays on quite well enough. Now, why do we want to bond silk? Because silk is a delicate fabric, and if you don't bond it, it will start to shred, especially when we get into some embellishing. I'm just going to move this little ironing pad for just a moment, so I'll disappear for a second, and we'll get rid of the iron, and there it goes. So let's now start with the project itself. We've got the fabrics chosen. How do you know where to put them and how big of a piece to cut? Well, I just cut basically my design into about 4 pieces, and I go, I want a little bit of brown here because I've got some, browny colors in the center. Then I'll want something else over here. I'm not sure what that is yet, but I do know I want to use this beautiful fabric. And since it's got the stripe, I thought I would just cut with my pinking shears a strip of it right here. So I know I'm going to lay that somewhere over here because it's a nice heavy bold piece and it counterbalances that quite nicely. The other piece that I loved, remember we had the little postcard print? Well, I just whacked a little bit off it. It doesn't matter how you use it. You could use it over here or here, but I think I know I want my lace to be here, so I don't want another cream thing near it. I need to counteract this brown and put some cream, more cream. So I'm going to choose to put this postcard somewhere in there. Now my eye is starting to travel around the postcard. So what I'd like to show you now is how to adhere all of these pieces. So I'm just going to use my pins, and where I know they'll overlap, I'm just going to pin everything in place and stitch it. I'm just using running stitches, you see right here, just to tack these on, because when we put all the other elements onto this, they are going to tack down the rest of the fabrics. So just mark here with a few pins, and you'll notice I'm using quite long pins. You might think these are the same as your quilting pins, but they're actually very fine, ultra fine, and they don't leave holes in your fabric or your ribbon, and that's why I love them. They're a size 0.55 millimeter, so very tiny. Okay, let me show you how to do the sewing. We're ready to start sewing now. I want to show you the needles we use. These are milliners, and you can see that's kind of bent. That's just because my thumb and finger have made it bent. They're really very straight. They have a tiny little eye, and the reason for that is when you go through big chunks of something, the needle will still glide through. The thread I'm using is on this little bobbin. It's actually a twisted nylon thread, and I use it in my ribbon work. It's really strong, and you only have to use single thread. Coates and Clark actually make that for me because it's thin and strong, and that's what we need in ribbon work. So I use it in all my collage work. Just comes in one color, and later on we'll be showing you some samples, and you'll see, wow, she did all that with just white thread. Yes, you can do it too. So let's get busy on this. I don't use a knot. Now I know a lot of you can do this business with a knot. I can't do that. I have to use back stitches. And the reason I do that is because there's a lot of bulk in ribbon work, and knots add to bulk. So I'm going to start this stitching right here, and we're just going to stitch across the bottom here and across this side here, and I'll put one holding stitch right there. The reason I don't tack all of this down is because later on, when we bring in all of our other elements like our image, etc., those will all help to tack the rest of it down. So how do I start without a knot? I'm on the back. I know where my piece is. I'm just going to do a little stitch like that. I don't know what you would call it, but I call them a back stitch because I'm going back on it, and I repeat it 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 times. so I know my thread is in there and won't come out. So now I'm just coming to the front, and I'm only following lines across the bottom. So just take a nice big tacking stitch. This is not a beauty contest, ladies, for sewing stitches. Just shove your needle through there, and then when you get to the end, just go back down to the back and tack off in the back with, again, 1, 2, 3 back stitches, and that's it. And I cut my thread and I'm done. Then I'll go across to here, and we'll start here, go across, catching this beautiful teal ribbon in there as well, or teal fabric, and then down to here. Then I'll separately do that. And if you look here, you can see I've already got those tacked in place. Once you've got your lace on, all your bits on, you see you've got some raw edges hanging out, simply cut those off. I call it eye clutter if you have to have all of that. Plus your needle and thread gets caught on it. What a big mess. Well, this concludes the first lesson, and what I want to show you in the second lesson is how to prepare the fabric image that we'll be using on that. Then we'll add some ribbons and trims, and you're going to have a high old time.